Welcome to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you are ready to find your inner magic, develop great habits, and a rock steady mindset to feel confident, comfortable, and fit in your body, you are in the right place. I am Kim Barnes Jefferson, and I'll be giving you weekly doses of health, fitness, and life tips sprinkled with humor and real talk. If you're ready to be consistent without the stress of perfection, magic makers, it's time to slip into your favorite pair of PJs, grab some coffee, kick back, and listen to today's show.
All right, magic makers, here's the deal. We're talking about intermittent fasting today, and everyone's got their opinion. Nobody agrees, and you're wondering if you're supposed to be white knuckling it till lunch, or is this just diet culture with a timer? So I brought on someone who actually works with real humans, not just theories, Ashley Bazell. She's a registered dietitian who has spent most of her days with actual humans, women, trying to navigate metabolic chaos without turning every meal into a moral dilemma or something out of the Hunger Games. We're getting into the stuff nobody explains, like what is actually happening to your body when you fast, why your 40-something metabolism seems to have grown its own agenda, and whether skipping breakfast is brilliant or just skipping breakfast. Fair warning, Ashley dropped some amazing truth bombs about how your body cleans house when you're not constantly eating, muscle loss myths, and why that tight feeling around your middle section isn't about willpower. And I confess how I use Prolon, and spoiler alert, I got some strong feelings about their olives. And if you've been trying to figure out what fasting is it a legit tool or just another thing for you to obsess over? I got Ashley to answer all those questions. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hey, magic makers. It's this week's iTunes review. Amy W. Fitness says, Kim knows her stuff. Keeps it real on all levels. 5 stars. Awesome podcast series on relatable topics that women deal with. Kim's advice, along with her sense of humor, is what everyone needs to find their fit girl magic. Well, thank you so much, Amy W. Fitness. That warms my heart. If you haven't yet left your review, please head over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and hit rate, and then hopefully it's a 5-star hint, and leave me a review. Thanks.
All right, magic makers, here we are. Today we are diving into a topic that every 40-something-year-old woman feels like they're getting twisted up into a pretzel. It is called intermittent fasting. Have you heard of it? So many people swear by it. So many people swear at it. And most of you are just like, what the hell do I do? Should I be skipping breakfast? Is this just another diet wrapped in a lab coat? Here's the deal. You know me. I am not about to push another rule on you because, girl, I followed too many of them in my past. But I don't want you to be afraid to eat before 11 o'clock because I've seen so many midlife women already living this low-key restricted life, thinking hunger is a character flaw or it is a flex. When it comes to fasting, it's a tool, not a personality trait, a season, not a lifestyle tattoo. That is exactly why I brought today's guest on. Ashley Bazell is here. She's a registered dietitian, a diabetes care specialist, and she's got 15 years underneath her belt, so she knows some things. And we're going to dive knee deep into the actual research, metabolic responses, and the full picture about fasting. So instead of arguing on the internet or some rando in a Facebook group, we're going to get the honest, grown-ass advice from someone who has been there, done that, and can answer the questions. All right, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kim. I'm so excited to be here. I can tell in your voice and your word choice that it's all about healthy habits, but real life and how we can just, decomplicate things because we're busy people. We have things to do and a life to live and enjoy. And so I love that kind of framing around, let's just be real.
Right. You deal with patients, and you've seen us. We come in and we got our notebooks and we want to follow the rules. And then you get out into the real world, sitting in front of you. You're like, yeah, this seems awesome. Great. And then you get into the real world and the real world's like, oh, girl, you don't have time for any of this.
Uh-huh. Yes, it's the Dr. Chat GPT or Dr. Google that we fuel our minds with all
Ugh.
kinds of stuff, and it's confusing. There's a lot of noise, food noise, but also all kinds of health noise out there.
If you are already tired of January, this is for you. I am hosting the Doable 26. It's not a reset. It's not a diet. It's not about pretending that you're going to start a different life this year. You'll get 26 small, boring, wildly effective, healthy habits right away so that you can see the full picture. Then starting on February 1st, you can follow along day by day and work at a pace that actually fits your real life. We're not trying to do 26 things in a day. We're not about perfection, not about checking all the boxes. This is just enough structure to help you to stop starting over and over again. If you want the full list, do me a favor. The link to the Doable 26, that is in the show notes. It's totally free. So come join us.
Right. So let's just kind of start from the beginning. If you and I am your Aunt Matilda, we're at Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And how would you explain intermittent fasting? Like, what's it supposed to be? Most people think like skip breakfast or don't eat until you hear the angels singing. So how would you describe intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting is really just kind of a broad term. It can mean many different things, Kim. Intermittent fasting can be what I like to think of as like time-restricted eating. So maybe you're eating within a window of 8 hours or 12 hours, maybe even more condensed. But there are benefits to intermittent fasting. And I think of intermittent fasting as being a fast that's less than 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a way to give the body some rest and heal, which we don't often do in this world of instant gratification, DoorDash, this and that, constantly sipping on a beverage,
Yeah.
So it's a rest that we need. But, it's really interesting, Kim, is that the company that I work for, L Nutra Health, and Prolon is our consumer division, which you may have heard of. We have created a product for prolonged fasting. So that's different than intermittent fasting. Which has its own set of benefits because intermittent fasting can help with weight. It can help with metabolic health. It can even help with some emotional support and things like that. But prolonged fasting, something greater than 48 hours, really has a lot of cellular benefits, disease reduction. And for all the ladies in their 40s, I'm right there with you. This is the age where it just gets harder to lose weight. We hold on to fat around our middles. We got crazy hormones going on, and it just is harder to lose. And so that prolonged fasting, and I'll explain more about that later with you, can really have an impact on a reset for your whole body and metabolism.
It's interesting that you mentioned Prolon because I had, oh my God, I have to think about her name. I had her on beginning of the year.
Oh.
Did
she work with Prolon? Was she a group coach?
She's not a coach. She actually works for the corporate division. I will have to
Oh, was it Renee?
Yes.
Yes. Renee and I work closely together. So Renee's also a dietitian, and she's now in the sales division with businesses. But yes, so she and I work closely together.
Yeah, so I had her on earlier this year, and it was because it's interesting because several years ago I saw someone who when Prolon kind of first started really to kind of branch out into the consumer space. I saw them at a trade show, and they handed me the book, and we were talking about it, and I had the book sitting on my shelf, and I laughed at Renee. I'm like, I haven't cracked open that book. So.
Which is okay, Kim. It's okay if you still haven't cracked it open. We can chat about it or not. So did you try Prolon?
I did. So before she came on the show, I was like, I need to educate myself on this because someone's going to ask me a question. And I always like to be able to be like, I've tried it. And, I got to say, I love the olives. Those are delicious.
They are good olives. I don't know what's on them. I don't know if it's some spice or maybe you're just in that fasting state and everything tastes your taste and smell is heightened, by the way, when you go through a fast, which is interesting. And maybe that's why I love them even more. I'm not even an olive person outside of the fast, really, but I do love those.
I was like, I like olives. Like I usually eat olives pretty much every day. But I was like, there's something about these olives that are just like fantastic. And the crackers. I was like,
Yes.
but I did it and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I can see this isn't, never felt like hungry while I was doing it. Where like, I feel like most people feel like if I'm hungry during a fast, it's working.
Right. And you know what's interesting? I'm so glad that you tried it. You're familiar with it. And for any of your listeners, it's the benefits of a prolonged fast, but you get nourishment. I would be the first to raise my hand and say, I could not do a 5-day water fast. I don't think I could do a 2-day water fast.
No.
So this does take away the hunger. Like you actually get real food set up in like a meal structure, a breakfast, lunch, dinner. There's some snacks. It does get a little bit less as the days go on, and that's strategic to allow your body to get into this fancy term for recycling called autophagy. But that's essentially what we're doing, getting rid of old misfolded proteins and cells, and then getting the opportunity to not recreate, but build new, good, strong cells.
Yeah.
As you fuel again. But it's the benefits without the deprivation.
Right. And so for me, I was like, all right, well, let me just give this. She's like, oh no, she's like, as you do it, you're not going to feel really hungry. And I also, because, zillions of people have gone through it, everyone kind of gives you their hacks. So you kind of like, how do you make the soup taste like even more delicious? Like, and it was just, adding your own little like spices to it where most people like, wait, if you read the instructions, you just think, just add water, right? So a lot of people like, don't be afraid to add some spice to it because it'll make it seem more like, a meal, not like gruel or anything that's like this torturous thing. So it
gives it a little pizzazz and helps to make it a little even more palatable. But it's really cool. The science behind it's cool because it helps improve inflammation.
Yeah.
And it's been safe in over 1 million users. It helps improve biological age, or the age of our cells. And it helps with insulin resistance, which is something too, as we age, our bodies become more insulin resistant. And so that's why we're seeing a rise in so much metabolic disease across the country, like 93%. I just heard a statistic a couple weeks ago, Kim. 93% of the population is metabolically unhealthy.
Yeah. And, so you've been in this field for over 15 years. Was that what kind of drew you to the intermittent fasting, or was there some other thing that kind of said to you as you're, being in the nutrition space, you see it all? So
that's a great question. I feel like I have a very non-traditional route here to this space. So I've been a dietitian. Actually, I just hit 20 years this summer, which is hard to believe, but I spent the beginning of my career in outpatient, in a physician's office, dealing, working with people that had diabetes and obesity, heart disease. And then I was in the hospital setting for a long time. And in fact, I worked in critical care for over a decade and really enjoyed it. But 2020, as for many people, changed a lot of things. I had kids that were going to have to be doing school at home, and both my husband and I worked out of the house. So somebody had to make a change there. And honestly, I'd felt a tug for a little while of just, I need something different. I need a new challenge. And it worked out. I moved into the telehealth space. And I'm a diabetes educator also. So how I found this company actually was just doing some research on my own. I wanted to continue to be in telehealth. I wanted something specific to metabolic disease. It's something that was truly science-backed. And so it's not like I studied this. I'm very knowledgeable about nutrition, but fasting, when I was in college, was not a big thing. That wasn't something you heard about. And so the research really drew me in all areas, not just metabolic health, but in cancer research and autoimmune and all the clinical trials we have in even those areas that have been so impactful, that really drew me here. Plus, I love to get to know people. And when you are in telehealth, you get to talk to people, you get to check in, you get to see them, see progress. And I mean, that's truly what I was missing in the hospital setting was the relationships that you get.
Yeah, because a lot of the physicians that I talk to who now have shifted into more of the concierge space or even the telehealth space is that a lot of times you see patient one and then you're like, okay, gave them something to do, like whatever happened to patient one.
You just hope, and actually you almost hope you don't see them again because that means it's not good. They're back in the hospital, So it's that partnership together, getting to work together, strategize. I think that's something that I really, really love. It's near and dear to my heart.
And I feel like that's, I work with a functional doctor, and I think the reason why I enjoy our relationship is because, one, it's a relationship. The fact that, I think I've been her patient for over 10 years. The fact that, we're working on something, right? It's not this 15-minute, all right, oh, okay, check all the boxes, get the hell out, and see you next year, right? It's like, oh yeah, last year we talked about X, what's going on with that? What's going on with this? All right, is this improving? Where I feel like you're trying to find a progression, not just kind of
continuation of care.
Right, not check the boxes. You still alive this year? Cool, get out.
And that's what we all need. It's because you develop a relationship, you develop trust. We all need that.
And I also feel like, if I came to you, I could ask you the question and not feel judged or, or just why are you bothering about that? Why are you worried about that? Whereas if you want to worry about it, I'm going to tell you in a nice way, don't worry about it. Or if it's something to worry about, all right, I'm going to note it down and let's talk about it next year to see if it's still going on or whatever it is. So
very important.
Circling back, the studies show that, as you've been mentioning, about the whole metabolic, issues that everyone is pretty much facing, that fasting can help with blood sugar, cholesterol, inflammation, all the things, all the unsexy stuff. But, who actually benefits the most from using it?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's not a one answer because everybody can benefit. There's a few outliers of people that, of course, we don't recommend anybody under 18. If you're over 70, we want you to be in a program, which we have programs too. I can explain those a little bit later. If you have certain medical conditions, it is probably not ideal for you. Kidney disease, if it's advanced, or recent heart attack, things like that. But for most people, it will have a benefit. In fact, we have a program within Prolon now that is new probably from when you even spoke with Renee, called the Prolon Guided Health and Metabolic Wellness. And it is really for anybody. If you were looking for prevention, if you just want accountability. So many of us know what we need to do. It's more about just doing it. And so having somebody to help you set some smart goals, tailoring how many maybe fasting cycles might be good for you. And based on your body composition, because, let's face it, even today, I have a number of my own members that I'm seeing. Each one has different body compositions, different ages, different goals, long-term goals for themselves, but they all have the same common desire that they want to improve their health. And so that's what I really love, is that all of the dietitians on my team are trained to just meet people where they are. And we're not changing everything overnight. It's going to be, simple steps and make it make sense for your family and your budget and your goals. And so I think that's really key for long-term benefits and being success, is having somebody that can meet you where you are. And then you just start to slowly implement changes in your diet and your life.
And I think that's the big swing that's now happening that I'm very excited about is meet me where I am. Before it was here's your list, do or die. Now it's kind of all right, Susie, where, we've talked about a lot of things. What can you feel like you can do?
And that's the best approach when you are trying to motivate somebody, is having an understanding. Where are they coming from? What is their why? And how can we work together to do that? So I think that's why that Proline guided health and metabolic wellness is perfect really for anybody. And we see all ages between 18 and 70 in there. And then we also have our type 2 diabetes program too. So for people that are looking to decrease their A1C, but with less medicine.
Right.
And feel better. And with a food as medicine tool. So if we can come off of some of the medicines, so many people are on so many, to get rid of some of the cost burden, but also just the side effect burden of managing different medications and things. That's really what our goal is. It's all about kind of not treating symptoms like Band-Aid healthcare, but just digging a little bit deeper and treating the root causes of many diseases.
So you said like two things. There's one thing I've definitely said, but then it sparked another question. But you talked about a lot about body composition.
Yes.
And, for a lot of the women that I work with, if they never saw a pound drop from that scale, but they felt like they were, they weren't as round, they weren't looked as, look round, right? Most people are like, I look round, right? Like if they were to, able to kind of change their body composition, do you feel that intermittent fasting is an approach to that?
It is. Intermittent fasting is, and the prolonged fasting, the research shows reduction in visceral fat, but preservation of muscle mass. And that's what I really mean about like changes in body composition. In fact, Kim, like when I work with people, first I'll ask their weight, but I have many women especially, we don't like to talk about that number. And so we don't focus on that. I can think of somebody I spoke with last week. She was upfront about it. She said, I can't talk about my weight. I will get obsessed. And so we just talk about how she's feeling.
Yeah.
What's your energy level like? Your clothes fitting okay? Are you sleeping better? Like the things that we want the number to be down.
Of course. Right.
Of course they do. But ultimately it's about how they feel in their skin and being able to do the things that they want to do and feel good doing those things. I mean, to me, that's the even bigger question that I like to ask my own members is just tell me, how's your energy this week? How are you feeling?
And, and I love that because like you said, a lot of women can like that you look down at the scale and it's like a good day. You look down at the scale, it's a crap day. The scale doesn't move for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And, there's meaning that we apply to it.
Yes.
And so I really like and I kind of keep pushing my women towards like, can we talk about, are you hungry? What's your energy? Are you sleeping? Like, let's find these other ways to measure our health that's not a freaking number.
Yes. No, absolutely. Because that's not our identity.
No,
it's not.
I don't walk around with like, this is my weight on my chest.
Exactly. But, body composition is so important. Muscle mass is tied to our health span. So feeling good for as long as you can. And even with my own members and even myself, Kim, I this year started a new class because I needed some accountability with some strength training, even though I preach about it all the time. But, it's something that I needed somebody to push me to. It's something we all need, we need community. Community is really key too. Having a sense of community to help you with eating or exercise or just checking in on you is such a big part of our health and something too in our program settings that we really focus on like different pillars of health. And that's a big one.
Yeah, you're right. 'Cause it's like for most of the women who come to me, they're like, I know what to do, but you don't do it. And it's like, I always talk about like, small habits, like give me a 5-minute habit because it's easy to blow off something that takes 30 minutes, but you're like, it's 5 minutes. Like everyone can find 5 minutes to do something.
Yeah.
And then, then it becomes maybe a 6-minute habit or a 7-minute habit or so forth. So that like eventually you're like, it's who I am and it's what I do.
Yes.
So the other piece I wanted to talk about is that, I'm sure your business is inundated with the whole GLP-1 situation. And so, here I am. I'm like, girl, I don't need an intermittent fast. I just take that GLP-1.
Uh-huh.
So how would you, as someone who's like thinking about GLP-1s or on a GLP-1, like, is this kind of something that can be woven in between? Because as we've all seen, like people just take the GLP-1 and they don't change crap. Like it's just like the only change is that I'm going to take the shot once a week. That's the only change I'm making.
And I think that's probably the beauty of it that drew them there in the first place is it's like, it's a quick thing. And then I can do whatever I want to. We are not anti-medicine. So even in our programs, we have people that are on medication, and not all medicines are bad either. Sometimes we need them. I do have a lot of people that come to me that are on GLP-1s, and they do want to come off of them eventually. And, it's interesting. They have different levels of rebound effects. So many people are on them, but as soon as they stop, whether it's because they're just tired of doing it, or maybe their insurance dropped them, their employer stopped allowing them to get these injections, that weight generally comes back on and then some. But the biggest, I think, challenge with GLP-1s is the muscle loss component, because you lose both fat and muscle. So you have to be actively doing something to maintain your muscle mass when you're on them.
Right.
And we want to have good nutrients. We want to fuel with high micronutrient content. I have some friends that are on them and they're just not hungry. And so not only are they not eating as much, but a lot of them are not eating nutrition that they actually need to fuel their bodies well too. So they can lead to other challenges. But we have actually in our metabolic program, we can really support people that are looking to come off or that need an alternative. I've had many women that didn't have any success with them at all.
Right.
Which is interesting. Those that have huge benefits and those that it didn't change their weight at all. Or those that they want something a little more kind of food as medicine.
Gotcha.
And that's where we can come in and support. And you can do both together. In our diabetes program, there's physician oversight there helping you with like de-escalating your medications. So those that are on GLP-1s for diabetes, now we've got different ones for diabetes and weight, and they can do both. Sometimes they will take them off of the GLP-1 when they do the 5-day fast, and some people stay on because their appetite is not as, they don't feel that food noise as much when you're on it. So, but it's something that can be done together, but it also can be done in a way to help you come off of it too, if that's a goal of yours. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, we talked about energy, and we both know that, skipping meals tanks my energy, my mood, my workouts are trash. How can women tell that fasting is improving their life? Because as we talked about it, it's the unsexy stuff that we see. Like, we're not going to I fasted today and I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh my God, I get my belly's gone. Like, that's just not going to happen. So how do I know that fasting is helping my health? And how do I know when I've just fasted a little bit too much because everything is starting to feel like trash?
Yes, that's a really good point. In our program setting, we give you a scale, so we track body composition. We do labs at the very beginning of every program, so that, and then at the end, or every, it's quarterly essentially, so we can track that progress. But you brought up a really good point. When do I know that my body has had enough?
Yeah.
If you're working with a trained professional, they can give you some guidance there. We have to keep in mind that fasting, whether it's intermittent or prolonged, is a stress on the body. Actually, exercise is a stress on the body. We just never think about it that way.
No,
but
not at all.
And so we need to have endpoints, and we need to also have times where we fuel well. So when you do an intermittent fast, a lot of times it's discouraged to do it every single day because it's hard on the body, on the heart. It's hard on many different things. Just like you wouldn't go to the gym and weight lift every single day, you're more likely to get a muscle tear. So and that's why with the prolonged fast, we cap it at 5 days, and you are getting nourishment all those days, but we do the days in between are important to fuel with good, healthy foods.
Gotcha.
And you don't have to be a saint every day. Nobody can be a saint every day. I was just talking to my mother this morning about what are we making for Thanksgiving. And it's going to be a mix. So we're going to have the good stuff that we love, and we'll have some healthy dishes too. But, it's important to still fuel well. And what I encourage, Kim, is really more of a Mediterranean type diet. More plant proteins, more high fiber foods, berries. I'm not afraid of carbs. So especially the high fiber complex carbs, and some fish, maybe less processed. We need to move away from so much processed food. But the beauty of doing something like that is you can do it for life. It's not omitting one particular nutrient. We're just being more mindful of what we're having.
Yeah, no, and the thing that you just said, I think was this like goal to like interview over, was it doesn't have to be every day, and I feel that what has been kind of rammed down the 40-something-year-old throat is that this is what you do now.
Yes.
Intermittent fasting is kind of like drinking water. It's like you intermittent fast, but I love how you said it. You're like, hey, maybe you intermittent fast on Mondays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's
I'm like, and that's approachable because it's like, I can look at my life and be like, for me, Monday and Tuesdays are crazy. And the thought of intermittent fasting on like a really busy day would just be like you said, would just add stress to my life when I'm like, well, I've already got this going on and already got this going on. I'm like, I can only eat in this little window. So I can only cram my meals into like a 3-hour window. Like,
we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for like perfection and to do everything right. And if we don't do it just as it is, we feel like failures, but it's not meant to be that way. I always preach with my members, like, practice makes progress.
Yes.
Not practice makes perfect, as I can hear even my mother saying in the background as a child practicing piano. I like to really just push practice makes progress. So as you were talking about the habits earlier, just putting some good habits into place doesn't mean you're going to get it right every single day, but we are moving in the direction that we want to move in. We're getting there.
And so as we're talking about this, there's so many different approaches to it. And I guess one of the best approaches that I heard to the intermittent fasting, because most people think the morning, right? They're like, oh my God, I have to fast in the morning. But I've also heard, giving yourself like a bigger window in the afternoon. So between like your lunch and your dinner, that could be your kind of your fasting window. So that way it's not like you're like looking at your clock waiting for
constantly.
breakfast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's not a perfect for everybody. That's why you have to take so many things into consideration, their lifestyle and everything. But I really do encourage people to eat a nutritious breakfast. Like that's really what that word is, breaking your fast. But it most often is the one people give up because they're just not as hungry in the morning. But ideally, to have a 12-hour fast, that's something you can do day to day. Like eat within a window of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. or 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Like that's doable.
Right.
And it's also really good practice to try not to have anything 2.5 to 3 hours before you lay down at night. And that's really so digestion can happen so that when you lie down, everything gets to rest overnight. And you begin to get in a better rhythm, circadian rhythm. And then even your sleep is improved and things like that. But then have good nutrition in the morning just to, those cells are ready to absorb nutrients. Give them something good,
Yeah. And I always talk about rhythms, right? We always have different seasons of our life, right? Just like the seasons outside. We have busier seasons, we have slower seasons. And so how would someone, kind of assess when it's time to take a break from intermittent fasting? So if I've been like the kind of the hardcore, 7 days a week, 12, 18, crazy fast, when's it time for me to be like, take a break and just return to like trusting when I'm hungry?
Yeah, I think it's important to always listen to our bodies. If you are feeling more fatigue, if you are just, whether it's a tired feeling or you just are exhausted, I think it's important to evaluate, am I getting enough? There's also many women I talk to and they'll tell me what they ate in a day. And I'm like, no wonder you feel so poorly. You're not giving your body enough.
You're hungry for them.
Yeah. You need more fuel. You need some more of the right types of nutrients too, that when we're depleted in those, we can feel kind of brain fog and fatigue. And then it's this cycle and we think, oh, I just need more caffeine. And it's not a solution. It's not a long-term solution. And so it is important to listen to what your body's telling you. If you don't feel like you can have the same kind of vigor during the day or the energy to do your exercises, or you get maybe to even you're so tired you're not even sleeping at night. It's like this, just not getting good quality sleep. And sometimes we start to feel it as stress too.
Yeah, for sure. And so for the woman who's listening, she's, okay, you guys have given me a lot of information here. So, and they're thinking, do I try it? Do I skip it? My metabolism's crap anyway. Is there just a simple way to start? I mean, my assumption based on what we're talking about is the Prolon system, but
I love that for a reset. What people share when they do it, even if you just do one, there's all the benefits that I mentioned with inflammation reduction and things like that. And of course, I like cycles of the fasting, working with a coach. I think that's ideal to help drive outcomes. But if you just want to kind of dabble in and see, you can always do a one-time fast. We even have 1-day metabolic resets, Kim, too. And those can be helpful for people to just see, what is this like?
Yeah.
What type of food am I getting? She said it's real food. What is that? That's a nice little kind of preview. But as far as a long-term effect and even kind of the reset and even the mental reset from cravings and things that we have all the time, the 5-day, the Prolon is the best way to go.
Gotcha. And then, so the $1 million question here, what are some of the other alternatives beside fasting that can improve my blood sugar, less belly fat, more energy? Is there any other alternatives if you're like, girl, I like food?
Yes. And I like food too, Kim. I consider myself a foodie. I love to cook when I've got time, and I love, there's some things I like that probably don't love my heart and help come back, but I still include occasionally. It's all about balance.
Exactly.
But it's important to include some of those things. Back to that statement. It can't be a saint every day. So having some good habits. One of the things I would say, if you're not doing fasting, that a lot of times we forget about, sleep is one of the number one. It's our body's time to rest and heal, and it can improve our stress. It can help improve our holding some weight around our middle. And because when we're not sleeping good, then we have more cravings. It impacts our hormones, and we have more cortisol production and things like that. So that sleep is so important. So really the basics: sleep, exercise, and it does not have to be body pump class. It does not have to be a HIIT workout. It can just be getting outside and going on a walk. That can help with stress reduction. That can help with so many parts of our overall health.
Right.
And then just making sure we have some good nutrients during the day. Just start with let me just make sure I have a fruit and a vegetable every day, or maybe 1 fruit, 2 vegetables, and pull out one thing from your diet that's processed and replace it with something that's whole, like one of those fruits or vegetables. Just one thing, just start small. And those are really the basics. So, and hydration.
Yes.
That's another thing, that if we are not keeping ourselves hydrated with enough water, we can feel that fatigue too, and muscle cramps and weakness. And so those 4 things are really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And so what's one myth about intermittent fasting that you would just I have to try not to roll my eyes when you hear it?
Yes. It slows my metabolism down. That's one. And then the other, which we kind of touched on earlier, is that, I'll lose muscle if I do intermittent fasting or even prolonged fasting. And research shows, especially with the prolonged fasting, that our bodies go into a protective mode.
Yeah.
And they can hold on to that muscle. when we have in the nourished fast, because, we give you just enough that your body gets to be in fasting, but we also give you some, you might remember this from your time doing it, Kim, the L drink gives you just a little bit of glucose. So it's sending a signal to the brain not to release muscle tissue. I think those are the two biggest things, is that it will have a negative impact on my metabolism and slow it down, or I'll lose muscle mass.
Right. And so, where can my listeners learn more about you, more about your telehealth company? I'm assuming with telehealth, that means you can talk to anyone in the U.S. or maybe even the world.
Yes, anywhere in the U.S. for our current programs, but we have these programs in England. And I was actually in a call this morning with one of our partners in Asia. So Prolon itself is global. Our company's global and has, patents everywhere, research in so many different areas of health, as I mentioned. But this program, if you want to learn more, I would go to prolonlife.com, PROLONLIFE.com. And that is where you can just buy a 5-day reset kit. We have a portfolio of a lot of products there too. So if you're somebody that just wants to keep doing some intermittent fasting, we have fast bars, we have fast shakes, and you could use that to get a little bit of nourishment in the morning or in the evening, but still get the benefit of the prolonged fast or of a longer fast. But I would go to Prolon Life. But if you're somebody that you have type 2 diabetes, then come to our L Nutra Health site. So L-Nutra.com. You can find it from both the Prolon Life site and the L Nutra Health site. But that's where myself and my team of RDs would love to partner with you and help you know where to begin and what you need. And that, as I mentioned earlier, it looks different for everybody. We might have a couple of different cycles of fasting, but really focus on kind of other aspects of health in between. And but you have accountability and you have support. And oftentimes that's what we all need. So somebody to just listen to what our goals are, and then kind of strategize together on what we can do to improve.
Now, if I don't have type 2 diabetes and maybe I'm pre-diabetic, maybe I'm insulin resistant, I'm having some of these metabolic issues, do you take patients that is like that as well? Or do you have okay.
Absolutely. And I would say that's probably the majority of our members, that maybe their A1C's just climbed up just a little bit. They're now in the pre-diabetes range and they don't want to fall into the same habits as their parents. And they just want to be like, okay, I gotta take this seriously. Or maybe they just have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, or maybe they're just looking to lose 10 pounds and get a little healthier. Maybe they feel like I've let my health, I've pushed it to the back burner and I've been taking care of everybody else and not myself. It's so typical for women in our 40s too, and we're busy with our careers and our families. It's a great place for anybody. So that Prolon Metabolic Health and Wellness, it's a guided program. And like I mentioned, you get labs, you get support, you get a body composition scale so we can track progress. But it's a really good place to just get started. And actually, I know there's some sales going on right now as we kind of enter into like the Thanksgiving, Black Friday holidays that are great time to take advantage of that. So I think even 30% off right now is what I was just told yesterday.
Perfect. So the other thing that I always ask, what is the one thing that makes you feel magical?
Makes me feel magical. Well, I would say vacation a lot of times, just out of just being out of your own environment. I love, speaking of food again, I love to try different cuisines and do things. Like I just love to experience authentic cuisines from around the world. That's something that makes me feel magical. But also, and this isn't meant to sound cheesy, but it is really true, Kim, when people tell me that they just feel better. Like I had a member last week. She was like, I was able to get down on the floor and play with my grandkids. And I had not done that in forever. I didn't know if I'd be able to get back up. But she did. And that, to me, that's like the biggest win of all. I know she's lost the weight she wanted to lose, but just hearing somebody say, you helped me make a change and I feel better and now my quality of life is better.
Yeah.
That makes me feel magical.
I love you on travel because that's one of my love languages. But I also feel the same way. Like, great, you lost 10 pounds, wonderful. But when you tell me I now have the energy to chase my kids around, I now sleep through the night. That's when I'm like,
yes, that's where we were. We can lift our hands and dance, and but that just makes me feel like, okay, that's my purpose,
right? Because I feel like most people know what feeling like crap feels like. And most people don't know what feeling good feels like. So when you finally get a taste of it, you're like, holy hell, I've been missing out on this.
Yes, those are the things that are the most meaningful. And that's ultimately what they wanted to do too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. This has been like really good. I came in and I was like, fasting. Why would I have her on the show? Now I'm like, oh, I've leaned in. I've learned some things. And thank you so much for being on the show. And ladies and gentlemen, feel free to reach out to them. Do you have any socials that you guys are on?
We do. We have a Prolon Life on Instagram, and Fastination is one of our group pages on Facebook for those that are doing the fast. And it's a great community of people who can ask questions about. The El Nutra Health is on Instagram too. Our websites that I mentioned earlier, they've got great testimonial stories too. I love to read those, and all of our clinical trials. If you're just curious, what else does fasting help with besides just really the metabolic health that I was focusing on today? There are so many things that are impacted because it's not just one area that we can clean up. It's a cellular impact. So it's all the cells in our body. So yes, check us out on Instagram, on Facebook, our website. I have my own fun, speaking of recipes, Kim, and some of the things I enjoy cooking, I have my own, the Deets on Delicious is my personal Instagram page where I love to just post healthy recipes. If you just need a little inspiration, it's the Deets on Delicious, DEETS.
Perfect.
And that's where you'll find, just a little variety. We're all creatures of habit. We tend to go to the grocery store. We know exactly what we want to get and we don't deviate much. So sometimes it's nice to get some inspiration for healthy, easy to prepare types of food. So
true. Yeah. My cart just knows like the exact path. I'm like a Roomba in the grocery store. All right, Magic Makers, we've thrown a lot of information at you. So, as always, she's told you where you can find her, where you can ask questions. She's giving you a little place for recipes, and I know y'all are a sucker for a recipe. But this has been a really great. So, if you have any more questions about intermittent fasting, feel free to reach out to us. If there was an aha moment, I'd love for you to screenshot this episode and tag us on the socials. All right, Magic Makers, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you've made it this far, yay! I'm thinking you enjoyed the show. Let's continue the conversation on Instagram. You can find me at Kim Jefferson Coach. In order for me to keep sharing this message, do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. New episodes are available every Wednesday. The Fit Girl Magic podcast is intended to provide you with tips, tools, and strategies that will help you make better decisions about your health. I really appreciate your feedback and your support. Thank you so much.